Okay, and we're back. And we have parents. We have adults. And I think we're going to do a card.
Yes. So, as I mentioned before, we are now looking at the top half of the card.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is
Tiara's turn.
Tiara's
Oh,
turn.
good
Yes.
lord. I have a question about the setup.
Mm-hmm.
Are our characters the only 4 people in this journey at this point?
No,
It's a
Okay.
group.
there are others who came with us. We don't necessarily
Allied
like.
to them.
Yeah, we're a group.
Ooh, which one I should choose? I'll try this one. What's the deck? How do I get this to show face up?
I'll make it big for you and I'll flip it over.
Thank you.
Flip card. There we go. And I'll put the parents token above it.
Cool.
Sweet. This is the place where a child was born, touched with ghostly power.
Ooh, that's really cool.
Awesome.
So somebody in this little group of people who are traveling with us was a lone pregnant woman. And it was never really revealed to the rest of the group why this woman was traveling alone, like what happened to the other parent. Was there another parent? What's going on? But along the journey in the long great dark, she went into labor, and their child was born. And Faiz had noticed that the child seemed like not entirely human, and I don't mean that in like a they have 3 arms now kind of sense, or their skin is blue. But I got the sense like the kid seems a little funny, almost changeling like. And like Five can't really name what it is because it's not like he's been around a lot of babies. But he can tell from the way this baby's skin glints and sparkles a little bit. And if you try to touch it, because everyone's like, oh my god, it's a baby, how adorable, tries to hold it. And there's this spark, like static electricity that comes from a baby. You think, why would a baby have static electricity? But Faiz notices something a little bit different about the baby, and in some weird way, it's also a little bit familiar, but he can't figure out why.
Awesome. So for this section, just so you know which questions you can use. So it's the questions on the left in the before the border section, and we can reuse all the black questions again as well.
So the black questions are all open again?
Yep.
Alright. Emily, you've got the first question.
Okay. So the strange
bad
changeling child has been born. All right. Let me have a look at these questions. Also, could somebody put the Ash? Maybe could you put the parent names next to our names as well on that thing, just so I can see how they're spelled.
Oh, you know what I'll do? You know what I'll do? I'll make it so that we can each see each other's character sheets.
Sure. Yeah, that'll be good, so we know what other people answered things.
Yeah, I just tacked on the names there for my own reference. I didn't realize everyone else could see them.
That was a good idea.
Okay. I think
and this way, like, you can go and look at the other people's sheets and things. Except for Haley's.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
It's okay. Um, mm, I think I want to go with how did X avert danger with a deal, bargain, or promise? And I think it's in relation to this sort of the changeling nature of this child. I think, and I'm just going to decide who this is. I think I feel like it's Holden. I think it's Holden. I think Holden averted danger with a deal, bargain, or promise. Because this child, as per the card, is somehow imbued with a ghostly power, and I think Holden knows some things about ghostly power. So I think that, and again, like I guess I'm speaking from what I saw, so I can't say for sure what made Holden do this, but I think that there was a moment, maybe very, very late at night, when all of us were camping in this cavern, and the child had been born sort of earlier in the evening, and was asleep on the mother's chest, and she was sort of half awake, and Sol saw Holden approach the mother and the child, and seemed to give the sort of the customary blessing, pay his respects, but there was something, I think Sol saw something that Holden did, like a gesture perhaps, that he did kind of behind his back, that was something ritualistic. And I think for a moment Sol was frightened, because she was worried that Holden was somehow cursing this child. But when he turned back to go to lie down, Sol could see in his face a deep kind of kindness, sadness, and sort of like love for this this child. So she didn't fear that he'd done something dark, but she didn't understand what it was that he had done.
Awesome.
That he averted some kind of danger.
I think I'm going to sort of springboard off what you just created and say, how did Sol use words to diffuse a violent situation? And tell me if I'm
The thing is,
jump in
is
if this
I'm
is
going to have to talk about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever Sol, whatever. And I think that's fine. If it's a thing with me, I'm going to have to talk about myself in response as well. So yeah.
right.
If
Yes.
it's a thing with Holden, like if it's between Sol and Holden.
Right. Yeah. No, I was just going to talk about maybe something Sol did, I think. Emily, jump in if you don't think this is in Sol's nature, but I think as we sort of traveled a bit further with this child, like strange things seemed to be attracted to it. Like the strange shadows that before clung to the edges of the cavern and, slunk away from the light were drawing closer and closer. And it was pretty clear that this child was in some way drawing them towards us. Whether or not the child meant to, or whether it was sort of just a side effect of them being different. And I think so. I think that there were those that thought that taking this child with us was too big a risk, that to continue on with this could cost the lives of everyone who was there. And they were willing to kind of like the things were getting closer, and they were willing to sort of almost rip the child from the mother's arms just to like keep them at bay. So but I think so, like maybe you were sort of inspired by like what you saw Holden do and Holden's faith in this child, and that there was something going on, something special that could be helpful, or something important that's worth protecting. And I think you stepped in to sort of like stop something happening to this child. And like almost uncharacteristically for you, you spoke with such conviction that everybody just sort of respected your words.
Yeah, I think you're right there in that I think Sol is like generally very quiet and kind of passive. And so maybe when she does choose to speak up, that's that's sort of the effect. Yeah, I like that. That's really cool.
I think for Holden, I think like there is a reason that Holden does this blessing, right? Like it is a blessing of binding. It binds the child to these people so that it cannot be given away. Because even the moment the group stepped foot into the Great Long Dark, Holden immediately heard these whispers, right? These things that are coming that like keep coming for that child, and Holden's been hearing them the whole time, right? And they speak to him because he has a child with him, right? And these whispers just say, like, abandon your children here, give up your young, this is how you pass, right? Give them to us, and they will be safely amongst our flock. They will, and like your child will live forever. Just give them to us, and Holden can't do this. He can't give this binding thing to his own daughter. He has to like just fight this thing on his own, but because he can't perform it on himself or on his own daughter, right? Like, because it's healing, it's magic, it's things you can't do to yourself, and so, but he can do it for someone else's child, and so he does.
And Five sees all of this go down and feels heartened by it all, because Five sees, as I mentioned earlier, sees something very familiar with the kid. And I think the implication here is that Five may be similarly different, similarly ghosty, similarly changelingy, but he doesn't have a lot of information about himself. But seeing Sol like speak up for the kid and Holden try to take care of the kid, even when everyone else was trying to banish the kid, at least makes him feel a little less like he is as dangerous as he fears he is.
Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome.
Who's touched by taintiness?
What was even your question?
No. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
You did just spiel without a question, which is great.
No. It was unexpected connection or deepen a relationship. I didn't say it out loud. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm wondering if
Did
it's...
one not get crossed off? Did someone not cross theirs off?
Oh, I didn't, because I didn't... Sorry, I didn't do it. Mine was... deal,
Where
bargain,
are
or
we
promise.
Right,
Yeah. On the Roll20...
In the bottom
Thingy.
left thing, there's a... In the bottom...
below where the cards are, if you
below
scroll
the cards,
down.
you can scroll down and see the things to cross them off.
I will cross off the one that I did.
Cool. Yeah, so that's how I made an unexpected connection, right? Like, I heard these voices and, like, was like, oh, they're gonna want the mum to give away her kid as well, and that's not happening.
Right.
I'm wondering if it's Holden. Like, I'm sort of feeling like it might be Holden that's
Yeah, that's fair.
been touched
Like,
by...
especially because he's continuing to hear these voices, right? Like,
Yeah, he's hearing them, and there's that thing of how this is something he can't do for his own child.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
then you could also make the case though that Faiz is this entire incident is just reflecting himself back at him.
Yeah, true. I feel like that's not as much taint though, right? Like like
Yeah.
that's the
It's like whatever the opposite of taint is.
Yeah, Fire's got something.
Yeah,
got
whereas
something
Holden definitely
positive.
gets more haunted, right? Like,
Right. What is the opposite of taint? Tonight? I don't know. There you go.
Emily, it's your turn to put a card down, I think.
Whose
It's my
turn?
turn? Yes, of course. It is, isn't it? All right. Cool. I think I know which one I want to do. Okay. So, yeah. Cool. Just have to work out what it means. What does it mean? So, flip card.
I think, are we putting it back towards the other ones?
Yes.
Oh, just go back. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because we'll eventually meet in the middle when we get to the border card.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm just trying to make it bigger, but I don't think I can. Doesn't seem like
Oh,
I
I can
can
do
make it bigger. Are you able to help me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. So,
We do need to be a bit quicker with our descriptions as well.
yeah, because we're running out of time. Okay.
As far as time goes.
Cool. This is the place where our fears sculpted themselves from the rock and became real. I want to think quickly about what our fears are, sort of as a group.
I'm scared of the ghost of my husband.
Yeah, you're scared of the ghost of your husband. What's everyone else scared of?
I'm ultimately scared of myself, really.
Yes, you're scared of yourself. Yeah, and
You're scared of Ennui.
I'm scared of dying.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're scared of like literal monsters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
traditional.
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, what was your exact wording, Haley, for your?
What I was afraid of.
Oh, it was the cavern thing.
Yeah.
With yeah, right. Okay, no, I think I want to tie a couple of things together here. I think there's a place where we enter. We've been in a tunnel for a long while. We're not sure how many days we've been in this tunnel, and the walls here are kind of slick with dampness, and there is like a layer of water at the bottom, and our feet are drenched because we've been walking through this water for hours and hours and hours, and at some point. And then this tunnel, I think, is quite narrow, so it's very sort of claustrophobic in here as well. And I imagine that perhaps as we're going, through this place, Haley, what is your character's name?
Yudroshi.
Udrashi. Oh yes, here we go. Udrashi. I think like I imagine there's probably a fear in Udrashi, like is this the place? Is this the place that I was told about? But it sort of never quite resolves. Like it doesn't, the teeth never appear.
Right.
But I think some undefined way into this journey through this tunnel, whoever is at the front, we kind of hear them like cry out. We hear them cry out a name. And this sort of message gets kind of passed down the line, because we can really only kind of move through here single file. And this message gets passed down the line that there is Tomoko's mother is here. That Tomoko is seeing her mother, and as this message sort of comes right down the line, some people respond with like amazement. Some people respond with sort of like they don't know much about this person, so they don't know what this means. And some people are deeply disturbed. Those people are the people who know that Tomoko's mother is dead, has been dead a very long time. How can this be? And I think that Sol is near to the front of the line. And kind of like pushes her way sort of gently past people, and right at the front she can see sort of just outside of the light of the torches that we're carrying, Tomoko kind of knelt in the water, holding on to the dress of this woman who is looking down at her, and her face and her skin is ashen. And her expression is cold and unfeeling, and there is something about the way that she moves that doesn't seem organic, and she pushes Tomoko away from her, and she walks ahead, further into the tunnel, into darkness. And I think I feel like that's sort of what I want to throw in there. I don't know whether this is a case of like other people seeing stone versions of their fears, but I think that's like that's how we encountered this space.
Awesome.
You're up, Haley.
Yes. Okay, so I am... I'm going to say that I broke an important taboo of our culture to survive. And one thing that we would never do I think we would never leave somebody who, like, we have a strong culture of looking out for each other, and we would never leave somebody who we thought we could help. But as I was walking through the rock, it almost began to like crop up and like separate us from each other. So we were sort of split into smaller groups, and in the area that I was in, like stones sort of started sprouting from the ground and writhing and grabbing my feet. And I was there with Holden, I want to say I was there with your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what happened to her. Her name is Sarah. I was there with Sarah, and the rock kept coming and sort of like coating over our feet and our legs, trying to consume us. And we were smashing it loose. And finally I could see the rest of the group just through the rock. And all I had to do was step through, but I could see that Sarah, just on the edge, just about to leave, had gotten stuck, and the rock was slowly climbing up her leg, up to her waist. And I knew that I was bound to help her, but I knew that there was no way that I could. And so I just left.
I mean, I think that actually answers my question as well, right? Like, because this is really good. Sorry, what's your parents' name? Idroshi. Yeah. Yeah. I think. Like, yeah. Holden like returns to you and is like finds you and is like, thanks for looking after Sarah. Where is she? Right? And there's that moment of like, and yeah, this is this answers the question of how did Udroshi give everything to another in the hope that they would grant the group safe passage, right? Udroshi gave everything to the stone, right? Like,
because of course this is the story
Yeah.
from your perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
this is everything that Holden, like, yeah, and Holden, this is everything, and yeah, and Holden is filled with a bitter rage, and will not act on it, at least for now, right? We'll just hold it and hate, because there is no purpose to this. There is no purpose to this journey now, right? Like,
Right.
why should he make it to the green place? What is the what reason is there for that? If Sarah is gone, and yeah,
Sad dads.
yeah, and
Sad
I think,
dads.
and I think the thing is that that like, yeah, that's just what that looks like. It's just that, like, that anger and sadness. Tiara, do you want to answer a question?
So, what happened to Sarah now?
She was swallowed by the stone.
Yep.
Where
She got coated in
my understanding
rock.
is ghosts come out and people get swallowed.
That's the feeling I'm getting. Yeah.
Right? Like, it swallows your living and returns to you imitations of your dead.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Sarah is confirmed dead at this point.
At this point, yeah. Swallowed by the thing. Gone.
Ooh.
Rip.
That changes a little bit of where I was going with this.
There is no heroism for Sarah, I'm sorry. Or at least, doesn't look like it.
Do, 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 do. I feel like my answer is gonna come like a little bit self-centered after all the Sarah drama. But okay, the question is, how did Vice use that which the tyrant forbade to overcome peril? And when the rock formations show up, notices there's like someone's mother there. There's the concept of rock in the first place is there, but what Vice sees in the rock is a model of himself, and he's a bit taken aback by this model of himself showing up in the rock. It's like, oh well, does that mean this is my grave? Does that mean that I'm meant to die in this rock now? Look, it's like in the Junji Ito story, it's like, it's a me-shaped rock. And he's about ready to give up at this point, really. But then he sees what's going. I think he's sort of near where Holden is, if not like in the same group, but very close to where Holden is. I guess it sees everything that is happening with Sarah. It sees just how much Holden is like trying to reach out to Sarah, and notices that Holden is able to at least for a moment, live for someone that is not himself. And Faiz is like, well, why the fuck am I so worried about what people think? Why am I so scared of myself? It's because in the culture where they're from, the tyrant is all like, don't regard yourself too highly. You are all here for other people's good. You are not allowed to have good for yourself. You're not allowed to like yourself as yourself. What is this independence nonsense? But Fire sees sees that he is not something that needs to be feared. He is fine as he is, and this does not need to be a rocky grave for him. And so he overcomes the rock version of himself and finds some sort of strength by pushing through the rock version of himself. And I think part of it is that he's motivated now to see Sarah in peril, and he gets enough strength to get past his own head, try to get to Sarah, and in the process get past his own fear of himself tripping him over.
Ooh.
Who's most tainted in that one? I have a suggestion.
I think it's you again.
I think it's
Oh no.
buddy. That.
You shouldn't have brought this girl in here.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, right? Like, it makes perfect sense.
But she's gone now, so you probably won't get any more.
Because, like, it's the thing to make people not abandon her.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, people
Yep,
were going to abandon
exactly. Literally.
Yep.
He couldn't do the binding.
Mm.
Yep. Ugh. That's so poignant and sad.
her. All right. Now, do we put no, I'm guessing we put a middle card in now. Is that what happens?
Yes, so that's the border card.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got the border card, and you can put the border card in the middle.
I'll do that now.
Awesome.
Um,
So now what we're doing is we're in Act 3, the border, and we are crossing the threshold. So first we will do the children crossing the threshold to rediscover their past, maybe wreak revenge or save their people from whatever sickening act has shrouded their land in pitch black smoke. So we move the children marker onto the border card. And then basically instead of playing out a scene, one person will answer each question as the children cross the border.
cool. Who just put in the last card? It was Emily. So
I would be first, actually.
Yep.
I think. Yes. So what marks the border for the children? The border into the tyrant's land. I think that it is marked by basically like the ruins of what looks like somewhere where maybe a long time ago people used to like meet, like maybe that like the ruins of like a tea house where people would stop for refreshments back long before this was the Great Dark. And this would be exactly on the border between one land and another. And now it's just sort of like barely recognizable skull of what it used to be with all these weird things crawling through the dirt around it.
I think I have to answer. How did we manage to get across? I think there are all of these like spider creatures, like web like creatures, like skulking in the corners of this like tea house and its garden and everything. And I think we get across by Prudence being like, no, we have to sit here and have tea, right? Like, and we have to like do the ritual of like crossing the border and like, you know, taking food and drink and, you know, and exchanging it amongst peers and like do the thing. Like, and she takes us through like a really obsessively like neat ritual in the middle of this like dusty cobwebby, like things skittering in the corners of the room, but they won't come near because we're doing the thing that used to happen here before they had held the place.
Oh wow. How did it feel to pass the dividing line? At least as far as Minali is concerned, it kind of feels a lot like it's the beginning of the journey, really. There was all of these trials and travails that had to happen to get to this point. And certainly with the whole tea drinking ritual, on one hand, Minali's like, have I read about this before? Was this in one of my books? Is this new? But I think at that moment, at least for Minali, that's when she realized, oh, this actually is happening. This actually is, we're getting to the other side, to where our parents came. And I think all this while, Minali was like, I don't know if it's going to happen. We might have to do this thing, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. I'm just going to read my book. And then this tea ritual happens and it starts coming together. It's like, oh, right. I came here for a reason and now I can't back out.
Yeah.
And then the last question is, how did we know we were in new lands? I think once we finish this ritual and we move out of the tea house and cross this border, I think it's actually I think it's not a physical boundary as much as it is marked by the end of the ritual. Once we complete the ritual, I think there is I think that there is, at the end of the ritual, Prudence and possibly also Minali, depending on what she knows of like these kinds of rituals, someone tells the group that the ritual is supposed to end with the ringing of a bell. And the bell that, would have been here is no longer here, has, rusted and fallen apart or been taken or something. And the bells that they have are the bells that Azar carries. And Azar chooses carefully one of the bells from the bandolier and rings it to signal the end of the ceremony. And I think that there is, once this bell rings, there is a strange kind of sense that falls on everyone, as though, it's really interesting. This is an experience I've had, but I can't really convey it in words easily. But I don't know if anyone else has ever had the experience of being in a place and having the context for it shift for some reason. Like you remember how you saw that place when you were a child, or you forget the narrative you have for that place for some reason, and nothing about the visuals change, but the sense of it in your head changes. I think that's very much what happens as this sort of sound of the bell rings out. Everyone feels that this place is, their perception of it has fundamentally changed. And that if they were to go back the way they came, it would not be the same experience.
Cool. So now we repeat that same set of questions, but 30 years in the past. So the parents fleeing from a land of desperation into a new hope and terrible unknown.
Should we go back the other way? Like make Emily start with what marks the border?
Yeah, that's cool.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so this is interesting because is it always the same place or not necessarily always the same place?
It's up to you. And there could have been things there, even if it was the same place, there could have been things there 30 years ago that aren't there now.
Yeah, that aren't there now. I think, I don't think there was a tea house there 30 years ago, which is strange considering how old it looked in the future.
Right.
But I don't think it looked like that when the parents came through. I think it was...
Like the idea of being more ruined, just like foundations on the ground.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay, so it's almost like, oh, okay, so it's like this weird reverse thing. Yeah, no, okay, I actually love that even more. So like, yeah, there was a tea house, there is a tea house, but it's so ruined that you can't tell what it is. It's just these kind of, yeah, like vague, stone wall shapes. I think there is the markings of a great fire. Someone or something came through here and blasted the walls of this place with fire, and so there's like dark and sort of soot stains everywhere.
Tiara, how do we manage to get across?
How did we manage to get across? I kind of like the tea ritual thing being how they got across, but if that's the group that started it.
Mm-hmm.
So they reached this kind of building that looks like it could be a tea house or it could have been something. And at this point, they're all just really, really tired. And it's like, well, you know what? So we haven't had the chance to sit down and just rest and then just eat. So they do that. They make like a very makeshift tea party with whatever food they have left. And someone like tries to start a small fire to warm up some water and make some tea. And they do all that. Just have a moment to sit down and rest and eat and fill up. They've gone through so much loss. They've lost children. They've lost other people. They left so much behind. And in the process of doing that, at the end, someone in their party talks about, in my family, we have this thing where we give thanks to the meal we just have using a bell. And so they ring a bell just as a thing to remind them of their home. And then suddenly they feel like everything suddenly changed. And they can't really tell what it is at church because nothing really looks all that different. But then somehow they look outside and they know that they've reached the end of the Great Long Dark. And the person whose bell it was, they leave that bell there. And it gets lost to time, but that is the bell that Prudence and Minali's book talks about far, far into the future.
As far as like how did it feel to pass the dividing line, like I'm going to tell that from Holden's perspective, because Holden is like being like, I don't think they're real ghosts, right? But he's just being followed by these ghosts in his own like experience, in his own mind or whatever, of his lost family. And like I don't think he's slept properly in like since Sarah was taken from him, and like he's been like listless and like staring off into the distance and all those sorts of things. And then this bell rings and they're gone. These two, the spirits of his family that were haunting him are like just taken from him by this sound, by this change of context. He just feel and like his grief is taken from him. But like before he's ready for it. And so he's just like feels hollow and empty and angry about that, right? Like he can't even remember them. Like,
right.
Yeah, he knows that they were there. He knows he can remember their names and their faces, but there isn't that thing anymore.
And how did we know we're in New Lands? I think after the bell has rung out and everyone has sort of like sat there with this feeling that things are different, and then eventually they realize they're on a journey and they have to finish it. So they get up and continue walking, and not long into their walk, Yudrashi spots something that she hasn't seen in a very long time. Under a rock in a little sort of moist patch of dirt, there's just one little green plant that somehow found its way in through all these caverns and found a home, and is just it's like the size of a finger, but it's just there living its life.
That's really cool.
I like it.
We're at the top of the hour. Do we want to take another break and then try and see if we can get through 4 cards at the end?
I believe in us.
All right.
Believe in us.
There's quite a lot of, because after these 4, there's also the some questions at the end of the game as well.
Okay.
But not too many.
We'll see how we go. Maybe
but-
we'll do like 1 card from the children and 1 card for the parent, or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Great idea.
Cool. All right.
All right.
We'll be back in 5 minutes.